I thought I was imagining things until he touched my knee. I hadn't planned to come. Not really. The last thing I wanted was to be surrounded by his family. Smiling faces, overly sweet iced tea, and forced conversations about babies we're not having and jobs I don't care to explain. But Aaron insisted. Said it'd be good for us. Said it with that tight smile he wears whenever he's lying. We both knew he meant good for appearances. His family didn't know we'd been sleeping on opposite ends of the bed like strangers. They didn't know I caught him smiling at messages that weren't mine, whispering on the balcony at night. I didn't have proof, but my gut was screaming. We arrived at the lake house Friday afternoon, and by Saturday morning, I was already looking for ways to disappear. That's how I found myself on the back porch, drink in hand, watching the sun melt into the sweaty skin of shirtless cousins playing volleyball. The air was heavy, sweet with barbecue smoke and humidity. I was about to slip away when he walked out, Gerald, my father-in-law. I hadn't seen much of him before. Aaron's parents lived in another state, and they weren't close. Gerald was retired military. Tall, dark-skinned, a streak of silver running through his beard. His eyes were deep-set, shadowed with something unreadable. Older, yes, but powerful. He carried himself like a man who commanded rooms without saying much. I turned to leave, but he called out, "You know your way around a grill, or are you one of those pretty boys that only knows how to eat?" I laughed awkwardly. "Depends who's asking." He smirked. "Come help me. These clowns will burn the meat." It felt harmless. Just grilling. Just conversation. But the moment we stepped into the side yard, where the main grill was tucked behind a row of hibiscus, I realized we were alone. Hidden from the house. The laughter and chaos faded behind us. Gerald opened the lid of the grill, smoke curling like fingers around us. Grabbed the tongs. I obeyed maybe too quickly. We stood close, closer than we needed to. His arm brushed mine once. Twice. The third time, I felt the heat of it. Too deliberate. "You ever wonder," he said, not looking at me, "why people get married and stop trying?" I didn't answer. My pulse quickened. "I watch people," he continued, turning the sausages slowly, "and I see men who don't even look at their partners anymore. Just autopilot." "You mean Aaron?" I asked, biting back the bitterness. He looked at me then, sharp, curious. "Do you?" My throat tightened. "It's not really something I talk about." He nodded slowly. "Didn't mean to pry. Just seems like a waste." There was a pause. The kind that holds too much unsaid. I tried to keep things light. "What about you? Still in love after 30 years?" He chuckled. "Love." He flipped a burger with one hand. "We're more like business partners now. Respectful roommates with shared bills and separate dreams." I didn't know what to say to that, but something in me cracked open. A small fracture of honesty. "We haven't had sex in 6 months, I confessed. "Aaron and I." He glanced at me, brows raised. "Why?" I looked at the grill. "I think he's cheating." Another pause. This one burned. "I believe you," he said finally. "He never deserved someone like you." I turned to him slowly. "You don't even know me. I've been watching you since you got here." The words landed like thunder. I was suddenly aware of everything. The way he'd looked at me when we arrived. The way his gaze lingered too long when I stretched. The way he stood too close now, his breath brushing my ear. He turned to me, his face inches away. "You've got something in your eyes. Sadness, maybe. But more than that. Hunger." I felt dizzy. I should have walked away. Instead, I leaned on the edge of the table, gripping the wood to ground myself. His hand moved then, smooth, casual. He reached to adjust the grill knob, and his fingers slid across my knee. Not accidental, not fleeting. His hand settled there for a second, warm, deliberate. My breath hitched. He didn't look at me, just kept flipping meat like nothing had happened. I told myself it was nothing. I wanted it to be nothing, until it happened again. Later that evening, we were seated on the back deck. Family laughter echoed in the background, music spilling from Bluetooth speakers. Aaron was off somewhere, probably texting someone he'd never admit to. I was nursing another drink, feeling the weight of too much everything. Gerald sat beside me, too close again. He smelled like charcoal and aftershave, like trouble. We didn't talk at first, just listened. Then he leaned in. "Did you feel it?" he asked, voice low. I turned to him, startled. "What?" He didn't blink. "On your knee." I should have said no. Should have laughed it off. Should have moved away. Instead, I swallowed hard. Yes. His gaze dropped to my mouth. "Did you like it?" I didn't answer. Couldn't. But my silence was loud enough. He leaned back then, casual, like he hadn't just lit a match and tossed it into dry kindling. "Be careful, son," he said with a half smile. "I don't play games I can't finish." And with that he stood, adjusted his shirt, and walked away, leaving me flushed, breathless, and tangled in the worst kind of anticipation. It's dangerous how much I want him to do it again. I avoided him the entire morning. Or at least, I tried. I busied myself with pointless chores, refilling drinks I didn't pour, offering to help with dishes no one asked me to clean. I even joined Aaron's mom in a game of cards I didn't understand. Anything to stay out of his orbit. But I could feel him, Gerald, in every shadow, every silence. His touch still ghosted over my skin like a whisper I couldn't shut out. What scared me wasn't just what he did. It was how much I wanted it to happen again. I hated that. Hated how the memory of his voice, low and gravelly, played on repeat in my head. "Did you like it?" "Yes." "God help me, yes." Aaron hadn't even noticed. He hadn't looked at me once since last night. He was too busy entertaining his cousin's wife, laughing too loud, touching her shoulder like I wasn't even there. I should have been angry. Should have confronted him, stormed out, called it quits. Instead, I just sat there, quiet, with my smile stitched on like a scar. By early afternoon, the heat had become unbearable, and people began retreating indoors. I escaped to the guest room, hoping for a nap. I didn't sleep. My thoughts were wild, frantic. I kept hearing Gerald's voice, the way he said son, like it didn't belong to Aaron anymore. A knock at the door startled me. I sat up fast, chest tight. "Aaron?" "No." I'd locked the door. I got up slowly, opened it a crack, and there he was. Gerald. His hand was braced against the frame, a sly smile playing on his lips. "Left my phone in here earlier," he said. "Mind if I grab it?" My heart pounded. I knew it was a lie. No one had even been in this room before me. I stepped back, letting him in. He didn't go straight for the phone. He walked in slowly, eyes roaming the room before settling on me. "You look like you've seen a ghost." "Maybe I have." He chuckled. "You're tense." "Not at all." There was a long pause. The air between us charged. He stepped closer, close enough that I could smell his cologne again. Woodsy, smoky, masculine. "I crossed a line," he said softly. "More than one. Want me to apologize?" I swallowed hard. "Yes." He didn't move. Didn't blink. "But do you want me to do it again?" I hated that my breath caught. That my mouth opened and no sound came out. He stepped closer. Inches away now. I see it in your eyes. That look. That ache. You're starving, aren't you? I turned away, suddenly furious. You're my father-in-law, Gerald. What the hell are you doing? He didn't answer. Just stood behind me, so close I could feel the heat of his body on my back. You think Aaron doesn't notice you anymore because you're boring? Weak. No. He doesn't see you because he's blind. A fool. Don't talk about him. Why not? His voice dipped lower. You do when you cry alone at night, wishing someone would touch you like you deserve. My knees nearly buckled. I spun around trying to shove him back, but he caught my wrist, firm, not rough. Let go. I will, he whispered. Just say it. Tell me you don't want this. Look me in the eye and lie. I stared at him. His face was so close. His eyes burned into mine. I should have screamed. Should have slapped him. But instead, I stood frozen, my chest rising and falling too fast, my lips parted. And then he let go. Just like that. Stepped back, collected, like he hadn't just pulled the rug out from under my sanity. I'll find my phone somewhere else, he said with a smirk, walking past me, pausing only at the door. But you know where to find me if the air gets too heavy in here. He left, and I sank onto the bed, fists clenched, head spinning. I didn't tell Aaron. That night, I avoided Gerald at dinner, but I felt him watching me from across the table. Every glance felt like a finger trailing down my spine. Every laugh from him sent a tremor through my stomach. When we finally crawled into bed, Aaron didn't touch me. As usual, he turned his back, mumbled goodnight, and was asleep in minutes. I stared at the ceiling, wide-eyed, muscles twitching with heat I couldn't explain. Eventually, I drifted off. And then came the dream. Gerald. In the pantry. His hands on my hips. My back against the wall. His mouth on mine. Hungry, commanding. Whispering filth and praise into my ear. My hands tangled in his shirt. My thighs parting without thought. The way he said my name like a prayer laced with sin. I woke up with a jolt. My heart thundered. My sheets tangled around my legs. And I was hard. Painfully. Desperately. I reached under the covers instinctively, but stopped, disgusted with myself. With him. With Aaron for pushing me here. With myself for not running the moment things got too close. I lay there, breathless and ashamed. But the worst part? His lips found mine, and I let him. It was almost midnight when I crept down to the kitchen. The house had gone quiet. Family tucked away in rooms, whispering or snoring or lost in their own secrets. I hadn't been able to sleep. My body was restless, wound up like a coiled spring, and no amount of tossing or turning would release it. So I slipped out of bed, padded down the stairs barefoot, half hoping a glass of water might dull the ache curling through me. I didn't expect him to be there. Gerald. Shirtless. Standing in the open fridge light like a painting. Half shadow, half man. Drinking milk straight from the carton. His chest was broad, sculpted like he did push-ups, just to pass the time. Light gray sweats hung low on his hips. A trail of dark hair disappearing beneath the waistband. He hadn't seen me yet, and I should have backed away. I should have turned and vanished up the stairs before he noticed me standing there like a ghost, flushed and too aware. But I didn't. Maybe I wanted him to see me. He turned, wiping his mouth with the back of his hand, and froze when he saw me. Couldn't sleep? He asked, voice rough from either sleep or something darker. I nodded, stepping into the kitchen, trying to keep my eyes on the floor. Just needed water. There's plenty. He leaned against the counter, arms folded over that impossible chest, watching me. I crossed the room, my fingers trembling slightly as I grabbed a glass from a cupboard. I could feel his gaze burning a hole in my back. My skin prickled like I was standing too close to fire. When I turned around, he was still staring. Something on your mind? He asked, smirking. "Don't do that," I said, sharper than I intended. "Do what?" "Look at me like that." "How am I looking at you?" "Like you want me." He walked toward me slowly. Each step was deliberate, heavy, like he wanted me to hear it, feel it, in my bones. "Maybe I do," he murmured. He stopped just a breath away, eyes locked to mine. "And maybe you want me too." I could have said no. I should have. But my throat was dry, and the lie died before it reached my lips. "I can't do this," I whispered, more to myself than him. "Then stop me," he said, and kissed me. It wasn't gentle. It was hunger, rebellion, desperation, a clash of teeth and breath and everything we weren't supposed to feel. His hand slid to my waist, pulling me closer. His lips claimed mine with an urgency that stole my balance. I gripped the countertop behind me, but it wasn't enough. I was drowning in the heat of it, melting under the weight of a kiss I swore I'd never allow. And the worst part? I kissed him back, fiercely, hungrily, like something inside me had been waiting for this. I tasted heat and want and power, all wrapped in the scent of sweat and sin. When his tongue brushed mine, I gasped, and he groaned, low in his throat, like the sound of a man breaking rules just to feel alive again. For a second, I forgot who he was. For a second, I wanted him to forget too. Then reality cracked through me like lightning. I broke the kiss and shoved him back, breathless and shaking. "What the hell are we doing?" He didn't answer. He just stared at me, lips parted, chest rising and falling. Something wild flickered in his eyes, but he said nothing. Not sorry, not ashamed. I stepped away, wiping my mouth with the back of my hand, like I could erase the taste of him. "I need to go," I said. I didn't wait for him to respond. I bolted up the stairs, back into bed, into the cold silence beside my husband, who hadn't even noticed I was gone. I lay there wide-eyed, heart still pounding. My lips still tingled. My skin was electric. I wanted to cry, but more than that, I wanted to do it again. What the hell is wrong with me? The next morning was a blur of awkward glances and family breakfast chatter. Gerald acted like nothing happened. Like his mouth hadn't been on mine hours ago. Like he hadn't devoured my breath in the dark of the kitchen and stolen something I'd never get back. He cracked jokes over pancakes and handed out orange juice like he was the picture of decency. Meanwhile, I sat stiff at the table, too aware, too silent. And Aaron? He didn't look at me once. He was too busy entertaining Kemi, his cousin's best friend, who laughed too loudly at his jokes and kept touching his arm like she forgot he was married. Like he forgot too. I watched them, something bitter and acidic rising in my throat. I'd spent the night tangled in guilt and heat and regret, and my husband was flirting like I didn't exist. Maybe I didn't. To him, I was just a ring on a finger, a routine, an obligation. But to Gerald, I was something else entirely. The problem wasn't that he'd kissed me. It was that, in that moment, he saw me. And I let him. 2 days later, we went on a hike. It wasn't a mistake, it was a confession. The hike to the waterfall was supposed to be a group thing. One of those wholesome family reunion moments. Get some sun. Sweat out the excess food. Smile for pictures that lie about how we're all doing fine. I didn't plan to end up alone with him again. But somehow, that's exactly what happened. People got distracted. Some turned back halfway. Others wandered off the trail to take photos or help a whining child. And then it was just the two of us, Gerald and me, walking side by side on a narrow dirt path that curved into the trees. The forest thickened around us. The air hung heavy, warm, damp with the scent of moss and water. You could hear the falls in the distance before you saw them, rushing like a pulse, crashing over rocks with wild abandon. Nature was loud enough to drown anything, even guilt. "You did that on purpose," I said, trying to sound light. Like I wasn't already trembling inside. He gave me that sideways smile. "Maybe I just needed time with you." I stopped walking. "You can't keep doing this," I said. "We can't keep doing this." He turned to face me, eyes dark and unreadable. "Why not?" I blinked. "Are you seriously asking me that?" He stepped closer. "I'm not pretending anymore." My back hit a tree before I realized I'd moved. The bark bit into my skin through the thin fabric of my shirt. I couldn't look away from him. His face. That mouth I'd already tasted once. The heat of him made everything else blur. "You think I don't see how he treats you?" Gerald said. "My son's an idiot. He doesn't even look at you." I swallowed hard. This isn't about him, isn't it? His hand found my hip, fingers curling with slow confidence. "You've been lonely for a long time. I can feel it in the way you breathe around me." I should have slapped his hand away. Instead, I let it stay. "You're not helping," I whispered. "I'm not trying to." His voice dropped lower. "I've wanted you since the last reunion. The way you walked out of the water in those damn shorts. I've tried to forget. I've tried to not look at you. But you make it impossible." I shivered. My heart pounded like it was trying to escape my chest. "You're my father-in-law." He tilted his head. "And you're married to someone who doesn't even realize what he has." That broke something in me. I wanted to argue, but the words wouldn't come. I'd spent so long feeling unseen, untouched. Nights lying next to Aaron, waiting for him to reach for me, to kiss me, to need me, and he never did. But Gerald looked at me like I was the last good thing left in the world. He leaned in, brushing his lips against my jaw. "You deserve to be wanted," he murmured. And I let him kiss me again. Slower this time. More deliberate. Less fire, more ache. His tongue parted my lips, and I sank into him, letting him pull me away from everything I knew. It wasn't about rebellion anymore. It was something deeper, something painful. We broke the kiss only when the thunder of the waterfall grew deafening. The trees opened into a clearing where the water crashed down like silver glass. Mist clung to everything. The rocks were slick and shining. It felt like another world, hidden and wild and untouched. He took my hand, led me behind the falls, where the roar of the water was louder than thought. And then he touched me. No rush, no fumbling. Just the slow, devastating certainty of a man who knew exactly how to unravel me. Fingers sliding beneath my shirt, exploring skin that hadn't been worshipped in far too long. He kissed my throat, my collarbone, tracing my pulse with his mouth. "Tell me to stop," he said into my neck. But I didn't. I couldn't. When he dropped to his knees, I exhaled like I'd been holding my breath for years. He undid my shorts with practiced ease. His mouth followed. I pressed back against the damp rock wall, gripping his shoulders as my knees threatened to give out. The water roared above us, washing the rest of the world away. It was just us, wet, breathless, feral. And when he rose, when our eyes met again, I knew what was coming. I didn't fight it. He lifted me, and I wrapped my legs around his waist like I'd done it 1,000 times. My back against a stone, his chest slick against mine, he slid into me with a force that made my whole body jolt. I gasped, not just from a stretch, but from the way it felt to be filled by someone who actually wanted me, who saw me. He moved slowly at first, measured, worshipful, but it didn't stay slow. The pressure built, pleasure winding tight through my spine. I bit down on his shoulder to keep from crying out. His name was a curse in my throat. Our rhythm grew frantic, matched only by the waterfall's fury above us. Water splashed against our skin, but we burned. We burned. And when I came, I clung to him like a lifeline, the sound swallowed by water and wind and want. He followed with a groan so guttural it made me shiver. After we stood there in the mist, still locked together, the world distant and unreal. He kissed me again, softer this time. I meant it, he said. All of it. I didn't respond, because I knew everything had changed, and there was no going back. He says he'll leave his wife if I ask him to. The reunion ends, but the fallout begins. My husband finds out something happened, but he thinks it's with someone else. He threatens divorce. Meanwhile, his father wants more. He says we're not a mistake, that he hasn't felt alive in years. I'm torn between the wreckage of my marriage and the fire of something forbidden. I never meant for this to happen, but I don't want to stop. What started as a moment of weakness is now a choice I might actually make.